Tekwashi got to know about cocoa from the Basin missionaries.
Wow. By then, not press before they did. But I think, as I saw, why did we allow this history?
Skewed.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then from school, meanwhile, it was by the Presbyterian Church.
I'm a direct descendant of the West Indian missionaries that came to help establish the Presbyterian Church. My great-grandfather was the first moderator called Peter Hall.
Historically, the Akotuah Opare is a seat, so to speak, of the church.
They really suffered. Laid down their lives, they left their comfort zone, they left their families, their relations, and came all the way here. From day one, Adedanko accepted them. And even give him a place to sleep with one of the sub-chiefs. Session for a traditional chief. Akonya for them. Well, Christ Church.
Christ Church.
This is the only church.
You are not a congregation.
No, we are.
I see.
You use the word pioneer. We are the beginners. We born all other churches represent.
Wow.
So we are not congregation. We are church. Any other Presbyterian church is a congregation. Yeah.
Reverend David Asante became the first ordained minister of our church.
So most of the years passed, you find out most of the Presbyterian schools, they were all trained theologians and catechists. And no one even can become a minister without being a catechist.
So we had catechist pastor, teacher catechist pastor. But I think as I saw why did we allow this history from school? Meanwhile, it was by the Presbyterian Church. Jumadie no meni awurade benante jumadie ya motai titru pa ne se ye behunu nkwaje akwan ne awurade atumi anante yi motai bio nso ne se enipa ene awurade Yesu Kristo nante kwan be no otumi fa so nante de mfom so nso no mo ye wo kwan mu a ye betumi asua bibi afri mu yama papa ben nso no mo ye ya hye awurade anuonyam. Christian friends, once again, we welcome all of you to a walk with the Lord. And you know, a walk with the Lord will always bring you something extraordinary. Today, our journey has taken us to Akotuah Opare. Now, you can't talk about the Presbyterian Church of Ghana and not make mention or reference to Akotuah Opare. Historically, Akotuah Opare is a seat, so to speak, of the church. The first moderator and what have you, there is a history about this particular place. And we are so privileged to have a man of God. And he happens to be in this particular congregation, that is Christ's congregation in Akotuah. He is going to walk us through some historical aspects of this particular place, because this is a heritage site, you know. Higher biaya, untumin kapres biya bakwasema ubeja Akotuah Christ efrimo. Eti yamawakwaba enkobe biya. Those who are watching us on Facebook, on YouTube, and on PCG TV, stay glued to your set, because we are about to give you something that will educate you. Stay tuned. God bless you. Openye akwaba.
So you so
Number way there.
Nyamiato mehoye.
There are yes. Na me besa we do din baba because we din angazana a Bible. 80 Bajo, give us some introduction about yourself.
We dinged it.
Okay.
Dinged it Samuel Hall.
Samuel
Hall. Yeah.
Hall as in
H-A-L-L. Yeah. Hall. Yeah.
Is it Hall? To say chamber and hall. And I said, how do you know if
you spelling is like chamber and hall, dining hall, that hall.
Okay.
Yeah. But the whole name, I'm a direct descendant of the West Indian missionaries.
Okay.
That came to help establish the Presbyterian Church.
Wow.
In Ghana.
Wow.
And My great-grandfather was the first moderator called Peter Hall.
Hey, come on, the great-grandfather from, I think, 1918. He became the first moderator of our church, our beloved church. And remember, very soon we will be going to, or we'll be getting 200 years. We'll be getting to 200 years. Into the first moderator, the direct descendant, and all right. So, Papa, how do you feel being a direct descendant of the first moderator?
It's something that I can't find words to describe, because I'm very passionate about being the direct descendant of the first moderator. And I feel that passionate because I walk in the way they walk. I sing the songs they sang. I sleep in where they slept.
Wow.
And I always think about how they were able to help establish the church. And I find myself as being part of the continuity of the works that they did. I'm also, by God's grace, being found working at the same place to continue the very work of God that they devoted their life and everything to.
This is interesting. Papa, specifically, what is your role here in Christ's congregation?
I'm the administrator.
Administrator? Are you a presbyter?
Yes. Now, I am no more a presbyter, but I was once a presbyter.
Okay. You served as a presbyter. Okay. All right. So continue.
So now I am the administrator, and I believe and I see that the challenges that they face in working, and I can even see it in our time also, the very difficulties. There are times we're not like our times. Now we have things on silver platter, but you could see the frustration that they went through, and I'm happy to be identified with such challenges. It makes me think how they really suffered. Lay down their lives, they left their comfort zone, they left their families, their relations, and came all the way here to help us know God.
Wow.
And bring Christianity to us.
Wow.
And I'm passionate that I'm also continuing the same line.
Right. There is a lesson here that I would like us to pick. That Mr. Hall feels that there must be continuity. There be a nenanom adwuma omo ye di abedu sabre no. As I say, ye be twaso. And as a youth of the church, don't come to destroy what people have. Oma team fifre are building their tohama. Don't destroy it. Let us build positively upon nia. Ejanom nananom aye their tohama na etumia boye kanko. And yes, I say yanso yaba na ne ombeye ya mesomu bi na yebesay no dia. And na yakoya na say yabaye. All right, Openi, so you are walking in the steps of your grandparents or great-grandparents and all that. What did you hear about your great-grandparent, Reverend Peter Hall? At least you didn't see him, right?
No, I didn't.
Okay, so what is the narrative about him? Because as church members, we only know him as a moderator. But being a family member, what is the story?
The story about Peter Hall is his father, John Hall, was part of the 26 or 25 families that were recruited in Jamaica to bring the gospel. And when the white missionaries from Basel, Switzerland, tried several times to bring the gospel, they were not successful.
Okay.
So the idea was to abandon the whole project because missionaries come, they died. So the head office decided that they should call it off. By then, the only missionary left was Reese in Akropong. He had come earlier on, and the then chief, Nana Dodanko, had received him well after attempts had been made in Osu, and they were not successful because of climatic conditions and a lot of other factors. He decided to move up to Akropong, this area. Reese came because he had read about this area from one Paul Isaac, who earlier on toured this area and wrote, give account of this place, like good climatic condition, good weather for farming and all that stuff. So he was a Danish. Paul Isaac was a Danish, and Reese also was a Danish. So he managed to have that book before coming. So when attempts at Osu failed, he decided to find where Paul Isaac had been talking about. So that's brought him to Akropong. And when he came to Akropong, the then chief, Nana Dankwa, received him well. He told him that, well, he wants to try to establish Christianity in Akropong. And he said, you are welcome. In fact, even the chief gave him one of his sub-chiefs to go and stay with for the time being. Yeah. So Reese went back to Osu, packed bag and baggage, and came to live in Akropong to try to establish the church or the Christianity. For several years, they were not successful, almost about 10 years. He was not successful. So when he was called back home, he went back to the chief and told him that he's grateful. He accommodated him in Akropong. He gave him a place to sleep. His people were nice to him, were friendly, but unfortunately, they were not successful in their business that they came to do. So he must go back. So the chief was very sad, actually, and felt sorry for Reese for all the effort and all the attempts and all the lives that he lost. There was nothing fruitful about it. So the chief suggested to Reese that perhaps you are not successful because the people can't relate to the God you are talking about. Moreover, you are white, we are blacks. And we, the blacks here, we Africans in this vicinity, this area, we believe in fetish. We believe in, juju. We believe in ancestral, religious cult and all those things. So that's why perhaps they are not getting your message. They are not being converted. So if I can suggest to you that if you can bring missionaries whose color is like our color, who are blacks, then maybe my people will relate to them. They will see that these are our fellow black men. And they will understand also that the God that you are talking about is not only for white people. Black people also worship the same God. So that was the idea the native chief gave to Reese. And Reese saw the sense in it. So when he went back to Basel, he told them that this is a suggestion from the chief. Can we give it a last try and see if we can find Christians who are black somewhere and bring them to Akropong and give it a last try. So they look around and they realize that in Jamaica, the West Indies, there are Christians there. So they decided to go down there and recruit people who voluntarily will want to come to Africa. And they found people who were willing to come because they also being blacks there, they know their history. They know they were brought there as slaves. Though at that time the slavery has been abolished, but they still, for continuity, they were told their history. That you were not from here, you were brought from this far. So they were also yearning to come to Africa because they felt that this is their original home. So they want to come. So they brought them. They were about 26. Some were single, some were married with their children. And my great-grandfather, John Hall, was part of the team with their wife called Mary Hall, with their son called Andrew. In fact, so they were a party of 26 of Reese and Whitman and other missionaries, white missionaries. So they sailed from Jamaica to Osu, Akropong. In fact, when they got to Osu later, on their way to Akropong, they made a stopover at Abokobi. And there, John Hall's wife, Mary, was pregnant and gave birth to another child called Henry Hall. So later on, they all moved to Akropong.
All right. So now, historically, we've gotten to a point where Reverend Hall is now in Ghana. They've moved from Akropong through Abokobi, from Osu through Abokobi, and now they are in Akropong. All right, my dear Christian friends, don't go anywhere. Stay with us. You try whenever say here. Dwumadie no mene Awurade bɛnante. Dwumadie yɛ mbotae titiri paa ne sɛ yɛbɛhunu nkwagye kwan ne Awurade atumi anante yie. Mbotae bio nso ne sɛ enipa a ne Awurade Yesu Kristo nante kwan bɛ no otumi fa so nante. Deɛ mfomso nso na ɔmo yɛ wɔ kwan mu a yɛbɛtumi asua bibi afiri mu. Nyama papa bɛ nso na ɔmo yɛ a hyɛ Awurade anuonyam. So you are welcome back, everyone, for your mama nyina akwa ba me ne Awurade bɛnante dwumadie so. Ɛnɛ deɛ yɛbɛpie wɔ Akropong Christ. Maba me kurom. Unfortunately, me akura pem nyina yira. Santefo na agye ne nyina Awurade bɛfa. Yɛne yɛ papa Hall ɛna edi nkɔmɔ. Yɛ papa Hall. But also first name ne
Samuel.
Samuel. Oh, Samuel or Bible mu de ano ade. Samuel Hall. Oye direct descendant of the first moderator of our church, and all ka abakwasem kakra ni ono so bete efa nina eho and all ka bi e achre. Before we went on break, we were talking about the fact that there was a need to get people who had dark-skinned colored people, so they will be able to carry the gospel message to the blacks. And these people decided, or they offered themselves. So they have now arrived in Gold Coast. They went through Abokobi, and now they got into Akropong. Papa, omo bedu Akropong, then of course.
Bedu Akropong, the attacks say, Ompota say, Oba model church.
Okay.
And see, the first church. And that's the first congregation of the Presbyterian Church, were these Jamaican missionaries, West Indian missionaries, of their white masters.
So they were the membership of that church?
Yes. So the first congregation of this entire church was about 32.
Oh, okay.
32, that started the first church. Because they were the model, their children, their wives, and the whites, Whitman, Rees, Hollower, George Thompson, and few others.
Okay.
They were the nucleus church. They started the church. So they were to live a Christian lifestyle, a Christian worship as an example for the people to see.
Okay.
That these are also Christians. These are also people who worship the God that we are talking about.
Oh, okay.
Their lifestyle and everything were to be an example for the people of Akropong. So all practical Christianity was shown to the people of Akropong. Yeah.
Okay. At least you kromo for an answer they identify with our color and also some already. Yeah. And now the king and another dankwa I feel accept omo to me no.
So one of the idea about very unique about the Akropong and also the traditional chiefs here is senior war accepted race and as missionaries from day one.
Okay.
Because if you see other Christian history, there had always been fighting, rift, a lot of friction. But when they there from day one, and the Danko accepted them. And even give him a place to sleep with one of the sub chiefs.
Okay.
So that is very, very unique about the Akropong and the traditional church. And from onset, and throughout the history of the church in Akropong, the traditional people have played a very vital role.
Okay.
In fact, one of the key things that they did was they were the first to give their children to the missionaries to be trained.
Oh, okay. Okay.
They also use themselves and their family as an example. Because if the chief moves, he moves along with the people.
Yeah.
Because somebody asked a question. I was giving a narration to young people who visited them, they asked why was that the chief or Ankasa, why am I Christians? Now we can say they were the custodians of the traditional cults. So they couldn't abandon their ancestral holding on to, but they allowed their children. And David Descendant, for instance, was a royal, but he was given to the missionaries to be trained. One of the royals. And most of the royals, or most of the earlier Christians came from royal families.
Wow.
So the elders and the traditional leaders who were the first to give out their children and was followed suit by the rest of the people.
Wow. Say you be cross na ahene asom Christo. And we must make room. And in Padoba Asante Presbytery, for example, where I'm coming from, mission to the palace idea we don't downplay it. From Osofo, Dr. Punifren Breso, idea you cram the name, and every first on the first year of every year we visit the Menchia Palace to have worship with Tumfor and Nahim for there, which for me is a good image that we are carrying on.
Yeah, even till today, if you come to the auditorium, there is a session for a traditional chiefs. Akonya for them, where the chiefs and the elders, the traditional holders, when they come, they have a special place.
Wow. So this is very instructive that as a church, we must also make room for them. Sometimes we must visit them, we must go to them with the gospel. Now that will encourage them to, so to speak, send some Christo, almost any kind as some Christo. Papa, Christ congregation, yes, a premier, a pioneer. How do you feel being part of this great congregation?
Well, let me make a point of correction.
Okay.
Christ is Christ Church.
Christ Church.
This is the only church.
You are not a congregation.
No, we are.
I see.
You use the word pioneer. We are the beginners. We born all other churches represent.
Wow.
Congregation. So we are not congregation. We are church. Any other Presbyterian church is a congregation.
Moment don't my mouth also I know at all because congregations, the only church, Christ, Kropon. I like the passion with which the cars has them. Wow, I've not taken notice of that though.
Yeah.
Very instructive. Yeah. So how do you feel? How do you feel being part of this great congregation, great church?
Yeah, I feel so. I also use the word feel so great. I feel so. I'll keep using the word passionate. It's like my lifeblood. And when we can history now can near me course so now can brow brain amani winning near my firm how I saw them move from all these stages to and there. Now you feel yourself as part of it. Now it's a very great feeling.
Wow.
It's very great feeling. Except say so one kind of history now, then you may not know how this church, how far this church has come from, and what has transpired and sana everything baby I do. People suffered, people laid down their lives. They walked places. There was no car on the room and Obre until from here, far and wide. I walk also car 7, walk also car 7. Peter Hall, Peter Hall was not in the picture from the beginning.
Okay.
He was born here.
Oh, okay.
And they were on any traditional holders, and then man were the first crop of missionaries what one call school, what one call school.
Okay.
And they later on became the forerunners of the whole.
Almost school, no? Is it the Kropon School Wahai Training College, you know, and so one call Bruce and on Monday by.
We now call school only David Asante.
Okay.
And of course, where the theology or theological education or Basel. Okay. I became the first missionary and also the first ordained minister of the then church.
Okay. For education purposes.
Yeah.
Reverend David Asante became the first ordained minister of our church.
Yeah.
Right. Where was he ordained? Akropong here or?
No, he was ordained in Basel.
Basel.
Yes, Switzerland.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Right.
Now, one Presbyterian church and education went hand in hand.
Okay.
They were not only focusing on spreading the gospel, but they believe that say which one can how to read and write, they will be able to read the Bible and understand it more.
Okay.
So they didn't play with education. Education was one of their strong tenants. What they buy. They established. The Akropong has the opportunity to also have the first schools.
The first schools.
Yes, they train the Mofran. What one bars one by Christopher. They took them to school. Whitman was one of the people, pioneers who started education.
Okay.
So they started the first primary school started here. Okay. When you go through your primary school, then later you are sent to the seminary to be trained about the gospel and the theology. But then they realized that the gap is too big from primary to theological education. So they brought in the middle school. Okay. That's why we have middle school in Ghana. So you realize that the whole school system and a lot of foundations that were laid by the Presbyterian church or the missionaries was what was carried on by the government. Because first primary school, middle school, they all started those things before the first theological school, the training college also came into place. So from the primary, middle, then you are sent to the theological school. So almost all the students' vocation was to become catechists. From there, you go straight to the mission field to spread the word of God. So that's how you don't go from there to do any other work.
Okay.
From primary, middle, theological school, then go to become a catechist teacher. So that's how in the days past, or most of the years past, you find out most of the Presbyterian schools, they were all trained theologians and catechists. And no one even can become a minister without being a catechist.
So we had catechist pastor, teacher catechist pastor.
Yeah, so those were Sanyama Wina na Emma Akropong has that name of history in terms of Presbyterian church. The foundations were laid here for school, even hospitals and agriculture. And when our great-grandfathers came from Jamaica, they also came along with fruits. Mango, numune, papaya, numune, breadfruit, a lot of things. Maybe Ghana.
Tikura said cocoa, for instance, you attribute to historically to Tetekwashi. I say it was Presbyterians who brought it.
Yes.
Would you be able to throw some light on that?
Yes. The Basel missionaries were the first to bring cocoa way back before Tetekwashi. And Tetekwashi got to know about cocoa from the Basel missionaries.
Wow.
Because he was also a house, let me say, normally in our language, we say houseboy.
Okay.
He was one of the servants of the missionaries. So they did a lot of trials.
Okay.
A lot of trials in terms of planting the cocoa here and trying to develop it. It was also a struggle. Some of them, few seeds they will bring, it will die, some will make, some will germinate, some will not. So it was a lot of practical work. Continuously that it started blossoming and coming to have cocoa trees. So before then, Tetekwashi, who had been trained as another thing, another missionary did was also vocational training.
Yeah.
And he was trained in blacksmith.
Okay.
Yeah, how to use the metalworks and those things. So with the missionaries, he was able to learn that trade. And when opportunity came for him to travel, where workers were needed somewhere, Fenadopo, he went And when he went there, he saw the same cocoa tree that his bosses have been trying to establish in Ghana.
Okay.
So that's why he brought some along.
By then, not press before they did
Basel missionaries were the first people to bring in cocoa here. They brought some cocoa beans which they planted here. He had a big cocoa farm here, and the beans were dried not on the ground or on the shed as our people do here, but at the top of the first building like this. The roof can be shifted to this place and to that place, and they dried the cocoa beans on the roof. Then Tete Kwashi was a houseboy of, I think, Reverend Rowe or so. And then he went to Fernando Po, first to Nigeria and then to Fernando Po to work there as a laborer. And when he was coming, he was encouraged by the Basel missionaries to bring some cocoa beans to be planted here.
Okay, but and already they had brought some cocoa.
Already they had brought more than 20 years. They gave some of the seeds to some Christians in Kwahu, Ashanti, Achim, to plant, particularly in Begro area. But they were not commercializing this. Okay. Tete Kwashi actually came with the commercialization of the cocoa. These are some of the very, very old cocoa trees planted by the Basel Mission.
The original cocoa farm is at PTC, the training college now.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
I still see old cocoa trees there.
Yeah, but I think as I saw it, so why did we allow this history to be
skewed?
Yes. Yeah. And then from school, but meanwhile it was by the Presbyterian Church.
There are documents, there are books, there are facts. Later, meet me the Amawa. We tell you that Abofuna was started. The Abofuna, they didn't just come say, "Oh, I can't write yourself." They be agriculturalists.
Yeah.
They be architects. They be doctors. They have a team of professionals among them who were also Christians.
Wow.
Even Mullins, for instance, was one of the Jamaicans. He was an agriculturalist.
Wow.
That is a wrong story. There are facts, there are books, evidences are there. Say, it's a Basel missionaries who started.
But I think, sir, we may have to come back to you again, and then we'll do an extensive coverage of where our history is coming from, and maybe something that we have lost sight of. But for now, let's come back to Christ Church. The only church, Christ Church. Papa, in your memory, can you help us with Asofo Afasa Fuimo and then Asofo Afasa? Because when I went to your session, I could see a lot of pictures of Asofo Afaha. Why do you need to me a kaka or
no? The first moderator was Asofo here. And he served the church for about 50 years.
50 years? Yes. Was it in the position as a moderator or
no? Moderator
various capacity?
Various capacity and various moving around.
Yeah.
As a head pastor here and also district minister. I think that was for 8 years. Okay. But he served at other places. Okay. So yeah. And Asare, the second moderator, was also here. Then the fifth moderator, I think was C.V. Matheson. Yeah. He didn't work here, but he died here rather.
Oh, okay.
The sad story is, after so many years, that this building is the fourth church. This was not the original. They started the church, like when I told you there were about 32 people. They started from roofing sheets, buildings, and classrooms. And later on, gradually, they moved to here. Even when they built this first, the third church, thunder struck it and got weakened. So they have to move away to another place. And then they started rebuilding this one.
Okay. So site, say Christ Church, is it the original place, our first church?
No.
It was somewhere else.
Somewhere near the training college.
Oh, okay.
Where the PCE now. Yeah.
Okay.
was not near here.
All right.
So this was original place they intended to put the final.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So this is the fourth.
Yeah.
This is the fourth one.
Yeah.
Where because it is the church.
That's it.
Wow, awesome. You see, one man so who I won't take that as a protocol. I didn't to me. Wow, by one day I'll bet it. Yes, I try. Dwumadie no mene Awurade benante. Dwumadie ya motai titiri pa ne se yebehunu nkwaje akwan ne Awurade atumi anante yi. Motai bio nso ne se enipa ne Awurade Yesu Kristo nante kwan be no otumi fa so nante. De mfomso nso no moye wo kwan mu a yebetumi asua bibi afri mu. Yama papa ben nso no moye ya share Awurade anionyam. And as I've already said in my other broadcasting that these are there as an examples to instruct and to direct our path.